Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we are going to talk about the film Fall. The film Fall. It's from Lionsgate, and it's a very interesting film. It's a survival film, and it came out in 2020. It came out on August 12th, 2022. And there's some. I think there's a valuable lesson in this film for every dungeon master. And that's basically a specific type of game that you can prepare for that is timed and valuable and can be a special moment at your table if you watch the film Fall 2022 or the movie The Shallows. The movie The Shallows and the movie Fall are exactly the same movie in different environments. One happens on the top. So Fall happens on the top of a television tower, and two girls, skilled climbers, get trapped. Okay, on the top of this television tower. All right. So, oh, by the way, spoilers for Fall 2022. All right. So let me tell you about the film, and then I'm going to tell you, once I'm done telling you about the film, you should be able to see how to slot this into your current Dungeons & Dragons campaign and the opportunity that Fall 2022 offers you as a dungeon master. All right, let's go. So, basically, this is a fantastic film. I really enjoyed it. And there are two girls. There's Becky and there's Hunter. Okay, and so I'm going to call, I saw the movie, you didn't. Almost certainly, I don't think many people are going to see this. And the reason why is, you know what, let me stay focused here. I want to get to the Dungeons & Dragons part on this. So basically, you have this situation where there's Becky and there's Hunter, okay? And one of them is the adventurer, and one of them is the griever, okay? So basically the movie opens up on, I think it's literally like the face of El Capitan, and there's the adventurer girl, and there's the griever girl. She's not the griever girl yet. Her name is Becky. And there's her husband, right? And the three of them are climbing. Pretty sure it's El Capitan. If it's not El Capitan, it's exactly like El Capitan. And basically, you're seeing this situation where they are, they're going to, they're climbing this rock face. They're using all the gear and everything, but the husband actually puts one of the, I think it's a python, into the wall and into the rock face, and this creature skitters out, startles him, and he falls, right? And his gear snap. They can't get the line on time. His gear snaps, and he falls to his death. Right. So his wife, who was climbing with him, I would say young Caucasian female, 25 years old, the griever, and she's brunette, right? And the adventurer girl is the same young 25-year-old Caucasian female, and she's blonde, right? So basically, husband's dead, and all you have left is the grieving climber and the adventurous climber, okay? 51 weeks go by, okay? And the griever climber has fallen into complete free fall, no pun intended. She's just drinking and taking a lot of pills and is sad and cries and calls her husband's phone, which, he's dead, and she's leaving him messages. She's completely off the rails, right? She's not handling her grief well. She's not moving forward in life, right? So the grieving climber, 51 weeks go by. Her dad comes to her and says, "Hey, you really got to get back on track." And so he reaches out to the adventurer climber and says, "Listen, you're still climbing and you're having a great life, and you have a great YouTube channel that is putting up numbers, and she is, after her best friend's husband dies in a climbing accident, she goes full ham on climbing and opens up a danger YouTube climbing channel where she climbs illegal structures, right? And then just uploads to her followers. and she, and she gets sponsors, and is able to make a living doing this, right? So very, very interesting structure, right? So the adventure climber comes back to the grief climber, and she says, "Hey, I'm going to climb this the fourth tallest structure in the United States of America. It's in one of those flyover states, and it's like one of those square states in America, dry desert, small town, and it's a massive television tower, right now. And I don't think we even use television towers anymore." And so it's about to be deconstructed in the next season, right? She's like, "Let's go climb this thing now." And she's like, "I want you to come with me." And the girl's like, "Nah, I don't want to." And she's like, "Hey, man, you really are not doing anything. You're not doing well. Your dad is concerned that the 1-year anniversary is going to come up, and you're going to take a bad turn, right?" Now, literally, the moment the adventure climber shows up to invite the griever climber, because the griever climber's dad sent her, she is literally about to self-delete. She is drinking a lot. She goes to take one of her sleeping pills, and goes, and says to herself, and you see her start to just scoop up all the pills, and she's going to take all the sleeping pills she has and down it with vodka, right? Now I'm like, whoa, wait, so this movie starts dark. Like, it is a dark film, right? In the beginning, it is actually, it's a full-on survival film. To me, I kind of feel it has some horror elements, but I'm shocked. If it's not a full-on slasher flick, a lot of Americans don't even acknowledge it as a horror film. I can't believe how many people say that Nope isn't a horror film, but it's surprising. So the adventurer chick says to the griever chick, let's go climb this television tower. This thing is, I think they said 1,800 feet high, right? Now, it's not a super challenging climb, because it's just literally got ladders, right? There's a couple points where you got to go around some satellites, and it's creaky and it's scary, right? So you need to be a proficient climber to get up there, and they do. So they climb all the way up, and the ascent is not really a problem. But the structure of the tower is that there's really good solid ladders all the way up until the last 200 feet. There is just kind of a spike that pushes up, and there's just one rickety ladder that is not in the middle, that's not buttressed by a lot of other scaffolding, right? So they go up that, and on that last 200 feet, that ladder breaks and falls off. So they are trapped at the top of the platform, right? It's a 3-foot grate, and now they have limited water, limited food, and they had no cell reception, right? And they have no way to get down, right? And so what ends up happening is, I've watched this movie is exactly like The Shallows, except it happens in the sky rather than in the water where there's a great white shark, right? And by the way, the animal predator in this movie is a condor who is waiting to eat them, and one of them cuts her leg, and it gets infected, and it smells like dead flesh, right? And so the condor is like coming and trying to eat them, right? It was just like really wild. So the adventurous climber gets up there, the griever climber gets up there, and they just have to wait. Well, there's like a pattern to these movies, and one of the patterns is, because you got to squeeze these movies for interesting stuff, right? Because these are limited scope films, right? And so basically, what ends up happening is, it's found out that the adventure climber slept with the grieving climber's husband, right? It happened right before they were married, about 3 months before they were married, and it was a 4-month affair, and so the griever climber is devastated, and now she's trapped, she's devastated, and she really is angry at the adventurous climber. But one thing I thought was really interesting in the film, it's my 2 cents on this, it was 100% on the grieving climber. It really wasn't the adventure climber's fault at all. This woman, the grieving climber, by the way, the grieving climber and her husband, the adventure climber type, I guess they knew that they were really taking a lot of risks because they didn't have any kids, right? So basically, it comes out that it shows this, and I am fascinated by this in romantic relationships. Fortunately, this is not in my romantic relationship, and I think there's a life lesson here. The husband never told his wife, "I love you," ever. Never said, "I love you," right? Well, and she would say, "I love you," and then he would be like, "Yeah, this has been a great day, babe," and like he would say a whole bunch of things. But one of the things he would say is he would tap her. He would tap with her finger, and it would be one, and then one tap, 4 taps, 3 taps. 1 for I, 4 for love, and 3 for you, right? But the reality is he never told his wife once, "I love you," right? Now, just a life lesson here, right? If you're in a relationship and you say "I love you" and they don't love you back, and they don't say "I love you" back, get out that relationship, right? Like, that is not going to work. And so, like, there was every clue with, you should never marry somebody who doesn't have enough commitment to say the words "I love you" to you, right? Like, so this was 100% on the Griever Climber, right? So, and then, so at this point, the Adventure Climber feels so bad about getting her friend trapped up there that she takes the risk to climb the 200 feet. She falls and hits the satellite that's 200 feet below the grate, and she dies, right? The Griever Climber climbs down, right? Puts her, and then, climbs down to 200 feet, but she can't make it. And I'm sorry, the satellite that blocked the way down, so it's like 1,000 feet up, and then 200 feet of no man's land where there isn't really enough to climb, right? But in the midway point, there's this satellite, right? So her friend's body is on the satellite that's coming off of this structure, but she can't climb the other 100 feet down. She just doesn't have enough rope. It's not going to work, right? And so what she does is she sends a text on her phone. Her phone doesn't have any signal. But they know that there's signal at the base of the tower because there's a close city, right? And they were able to send and receive signal when they were at the base of the tower. So all she needs to do is get her telephone to the base of the tower saying, "Hey, I'm trapped on this tower, come get me," and her cell phone will send, right? Well, and I love that this was really smart, and they did a great job with this. So she takes her cell phone, right, and climbs down to her friend's body and puts her cell phone in her friend's body and shoves her friend's body off the tower so that her body will be padding so that the phone won't be destroyed when it hits the ground. Woo! Right? And then helicopters come and get her and she's fine, right? Like, fall 2022, right? So what is this useful for your Dungeons & Dragons game, right? So if you're a dungeon master, I was thinking about this, right? This is a limited scale movie, right? And I know why this movie was made, right? Now, first of all, here's another thing. I didn't pay $15 to see this movie. I have a movie pass at Regal, right? And I get as many movies as I want. I can go to the movies whenever I want, right? $20 a month. It's a great deal, right? So I make a short list of movies that I don't see. I see everything now except for, I don't see 10% of all movies that happen. And those are just movies that are against my principles, right? And so, but I was very excited about this film. So this film is a limited scope movie, and they made this because it was incredibly cheap to make, right? And I'm almost certain this is going to make its money back, right? But what do we need with limited scope stories in Dungeons & Dragons, right? We don't have a budget. We can put 5 dragons or 7 dragons on the screen, right? We can do whatever we want, right? Animated movies are cheaper than live action movies, right? But the theater of the mind is the cheapest narrative engine that's ever been built, right? As far as, resources that need to be expended, right? So we have no need for limited scope movies. We have no need for limited scope stories. But do we? Here we go. We actually do. All right, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get ready. You're going to watch The Shallows, and you're going to watch Fall 2022, okay? And you're going to see the structure, and these are two of the best survival films I've ever seen, okay? and you're going to see the structure of a survival film, right? And what you're going to do is you're going to get ready to tell a survival story in your Dungeons and Dragons campaign, right? But when, right? Why are you going to tell a simple little story that only has a few, that only has one or two, maybe three characters at most in it, when you have 4 or 5 players? Why would you put your player characters into a survival mode, right? Well, here's the thing, you won't, right? When all your players are showing up, you're going to run your game. But when half your players can't show up, and you only have 1 or 2 players that can show up, that's when you're going to pop your first Dungeons and Dragons survival story, right? We can use limited sub-stories to create something special and unique and create a unique experience in Dungeons and Dragons when people can't show, right? Normally, if half the crew isn't going to show, people are like, game's canceled, see you guys next week, right? But you should prepare and get a good, solid survival structure set, okay? Your player characters go down into a dungeon, right? You have Sally, you have Julia, you have Karen, and you have Margaret, right? Margaret and Julie call up and go, can't make it, right? Sally and, what else did I say? Sally and Becky can, right? So normally, Schmuck DMs will cancel. But you ain't a Schmuck DM. You listen to this channel and you're ready, right? You've built your survival structure, okay? They're on the 7th floor of the dungeon, right? And so you say, hey, listen, Becky and Sally, trust me, I got something special for you. Show up. We're playing, right? Now, first of all, you might get some pushback on this, right? You're going to get some pushback from the players that can't make it, right? You could say, hey, I understand you can't make it. One of the things I'm going to do is the story that happens, I'm going to try to make it as least impacting to your characters as possible, right? And then you jump and you move forward, right? And that's another thing is, don't take people not showing up lightly, right? Like, you want to do what you can to show up and show out for the people who are still there, right? So what you want to do then is they're on the 7th level of dungeon, right? And what you want to do is at this point they are attacked by let's say goblins, right? Or actually, yeah. So in this dungeon there are portals that open when traps trigger, and it will draw in creatures from other realms to fight and protect the things that are in the dungeon, right? And so you bring in 50 goblins, and there's a huge fight, and the goblins actually use explosive magic that breaks off, right? And your 2 players are like, hey, what's happening with those other 2 players? And you're like, don't worry, let's move forward. So the combat starts, right? And you're gonna do 1 or 2 rounds, and what happens with the other 2 characters, right? Well, they're just in a bad tactical position, and they're not able to. And when they go to pull their swords, their buckle snaps, and the other one gets a broken arrow string. You're actually gonna have them do nothing, right? The goblins use explosive magic, and it literally breaks the room in half, and rubble falls, right? And they actually fall down 3 floors deeper into the dungeon, and the rubble rock cuts them off, right, into a small room that has very little air, right? And now you have Becky and Sarah, right? And they are going to, and they're there, and they're trapped, and they're in a survival narrative, right? And so what is the value of the survival narrative? Well, one, you are about to get more backstory on these characters than you have ever gotten to them before, right? Because essentially what you're going to do is you say, you guys have to wait. You bang on the rocks, there's a million, you do everything you can, and you realize there's no possibility for you to get out. All you can do is wait for the other 2 characters to dig you out, right? And at that point, they're like, well, but also, you were damaged when you were down there. Let's do a medicine check, right? And then there's going to be this period of waiting, and this is the value in a Dungeons and Dragons game. You are going. And one of the things is I would have them trapped with one of the other goblins, right? But he's the one who used the explosive magic, and trapped down there. You find out he's quite intelligent for a goblin, and he starts to prompt them for questions, right? And he starts to tell them about stories about when he was a young goblin, right? And you then prompt those other players for questions and draw them out. And that's how you run a survival narrative. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know if you've ever done this before. Please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.